Some demons one time thought they could tell Jesus what to do. What happened next is pretty astounding. I'm going to look today, and we're going to look today in Mark chapter 5, verses 1 through 13. And I actually did a video previously on all of verses 1 through 20, but this story is so interesting. It has so many little nuggets in it that I want to do it in special. I want to go in detail a little bit with it, because this story of Jesus encountering the demon-possessed man who has a legion of demons inside of him is just so foreign to us a lot of times, but also has such an amazing story for us and amazing lessons for us and a truth for us today too. And so it begins in chapter 5 with Jesus. He had crossed over in the sea and he reached this land of the Gerasenes. And the important thing to know about this is that back then, people thought that somebody's power, whether it was a religious man or a god, they only had power as long as they were in their land. But as soon as they went into somebody else's territory, they lost their power and they lost their authority. And so here you have Jesus, and he's not in his land. He's not in his territory. He's not among his people. That's why the fact it's Gerasenes is important. So by all accounts, in that day, they would have said Jesus was powerless. So the question is he? Is he powerless outside of Israel? Well, this demon-possessed man comes charging at him when they see him landing on the beach. And it tells us a little bit about this man, that he's really someone who's unstoppable to change. And people have tried. People have tried to chain him up. People have tried to help him. People have tried to support him. And at the very least, it said they finally got to where they just needed to essentially put him in prison to protect himself and others. And no matter what they did, the man wouldn't change. And he lived in a location that was dangerous. The mountains was a dangerous location to live. He lived in a place that was unclean. It said he roamed around cemeteries and tombs. This would have been ritually unclean as well as just unsanitary. He was deeply depressed, even as it said was cutting himself and howling all the time. And so he wasn't just a man that was unchanged. He was a man that was ritually and literally endangering his own life, hurting himself, and being unclean. And so this demon-possessed man, he runs up to Jesus. And what you have is this encounter that is a battle between forces, and really asking the question, can these powerful demons really fight Jesus and gain any ground, especially since they're in the Gerasene land and not in Jesus's land of Israel? Well, the first tactic is to basically say, hey, this is our land. This is my house. I do what I want. Get out of here, Jesus. They say, what are you doing here? What's between you and me? They're saying, this is my house, Jesus, get out. And when that doesn't help, their second tactic then is to say, Jesus, we can tell you what to do, but you can't tell us what to do. The demons come up and they say, Jesus, we know your name. You're Jesus, the Son of the Most High God. And when Jesus asks them for their name, they really don't tell them their name. They say we're just called Legion, which isn't their name. That's just kind of a sidetrack or a tactic they wouldn't give him. Back then, just like they thought that people only had power in their land, they also thought if you knew somebody's real name, then you could have power and control over them. And so the demons are trying the second tactic. They're like, well, being in our own land isn't helping. So maybe if we say we know who Jesus is and we don't tell Jesus who we are, then we can have control and command and we can live out our truth. And Jesus can't tell us what to do. Well, that tactic doesn't work either. And so then they resort to a third tactic, which is compromise. Jesus is telling them they have to leave the area. And they say, well, can we reach a compromise, Jesus? Can we stay in the area, but instead of being in this man, being in these pigs? And Jesus allows the demons to do that. He gives the demons exactly what they want with this compromise. And so they leave the man and they go into this herd of pigs that are sitting there. And demons do what they do. They torment, they kill, they destroy, and the pigs don't take it. They rush off and fall off a cliff and drown, and it's implied that the demons are destroyed with them, with the pigs. Now, to us, we read that story, and it's pretty astonishing. We go, oh, poor pigs. And rightly so, really. We go, oh, that poor herd of pigs that got destroyed on that day. And I've even heard people that have gotten upset with Jesus for allowing that to happen. But the truth, there's two truths we need to remember. One, it's not Jesus that destroyed those pigs. It was those demons. Jesus is just allowing them to do what they wanted to do. And that was the consequence for them. Secondly, you have to understand what pigs meant to Israelites back then, because a good analogy for us today would have been a swarm of mosquitoes. Israelites hated pigs. They weren't just ritually unclean, but they were symbolic of being conquered by Gentiles. In the past, they had Gentile generals sacrifice pigs on their altars to God. And so pigs were a symbol of being conquered by these Gentiles. It was one of the most hated animal. Being in the South in Alabama, like I said, the closest analogy I have is to mosquitoes. If demons were sent to a swarm of mosquitoes and they all drowned, I wouldn't care about that at all. And that's basically what an Israelite would have read this story like with these pigs. And essentially, Jesus gives them what they want, the demons, and that's what happens to them. So what does this have to tell us about today? Well, it tells us a little bit about who Jesus is and how we interact with him. One, it tells us that we shouldn't say to Jesus, this is my house and my life and you can't tell me what to do. It doesn't work that way. Jesus has authority even in your house, even in your own life. Secondly, we can't say, well, Jesus, I can ask you to do stuff for me, but I don't want you to ask me to do stuff for you. It doesn't work that way. You can't control what Jesus tells us to. We can't control what the Bible tells us. All we can do is obey it. And you certainly can't command Jesus to do anything for you. He does everything, if he does it, is on his free will and his grace towards you. And the last thing it shows us is that it's a bad idea to try to compromise with God, because he might just give you what you ask for. And a compromise might look like a good deal, where you say, God, I'll follow you a little bit in this area, but I'm not going to follow you in this area. It might look like a good deal to you at first. But God might actually let you have that, and you'll find out that it doesn't work out for you. So we have this amazing story about Jesus, and the lesson for it is if you're a believer today, listen to Jesus' voice and obey it. He has authority. He has power. Let him reign in your life. Don't compromise with him. Don't hold back pieces. Surrender completely your heart to him, because he is the Lord of Lords and King of Kings. And if you have done that, if you feel like you have surrendered and you're trying to follow the Lord's voice, hit that like button on there and comment below exactly who Jesus is to you, how he makes you feel. But if you haven't placed your faith in Jesus, do that today, because he is the Lord of Lords, the King of Kings, but he also died on the cross to save you from your sins so that you can have a relationship with you, and he loves you. If you want to do that, comment below or message me. I'd love to talk to you about it.